everyone, for today's video I'm going to be doing something completely new and different on my channel, and that is going to be talking about my newfound love for crocheting, or rather I should say my newly rediscovered love for it, because I used to crochet many years ago and then I stopped, but I recently rediscovered it. And while I've been going through this kind of rough patch in my life and dealing with like a lot of mental health stuff and life changes, pretty much crocheting while watching Stranger Things has been like the main thing keeping me sane through all of this. So I've really thrown myself into the hobby, and I do know that this won't be a video for everybody, and if you want to skip this video, I will be back to my regular scheduled programming of bookish and fandom related things in my next video. But I've always talked about on my channel wanting to incorporate all of my hobbies at least a little bit, so I thought maybe like once a month I could do a video on my channel talking about my crochet projects that I have planned, or showing you the ones that I have completed, and it would just be like a little once a month thing for anybody that would be interested in hearing about it. But I know it won't be the video for everybody, so I understand if you want to skip over it. But for this video, I thought for the first half of it I would do a little haul of all of the yarns that I have picked up over the last couple of weeks and talk to you about the different projects I have planned for them. And then in the second half of this video, I thought I would talk about the current project that I'm working on, as well as maybe a little bit more about like why I crocheted in the past and why I stopped and why I started doing it again. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you will stick around, but if it doesn't, I completely understand, and like I said, I will be back to my regular scheduled programming of bookish, nerdy, fandom related things in my next video. So without further ado, let's jump into the haul. So before I get started, I feel like I kind of made it clear in the intro that I am new to this, and when I crocheted in the past, I was a preteen that didn't know what I was doing. So if I talk about the yarn and I'm not using like the right terminology or not mentioning the things that I'm supposed to, I am learning still. I have just recently discovered the whole like crochet community on YouTube, and it's absolutely fascinating, so I am learning, but if I seem like I don't really know what I'm talking about, it's because I don't. Starting off, we have this yarn here. All of this yarn is by Michaels, by the way, or I bought at Michaels, and it turns out yarn is a pretty expensive thing to purchase. So all of these were either purchased on clearance or on sale, or like with a coupon of some sort. Michaels usually has like 40% off coupons and stuff like that floating around, or like 15% off your total purchase. So that is how I'm able to afford this hobby, because full price I'd never be able to do it. So luckily I got a lot of this on sale. But first up, we have this yarn here, which as soon as I saw it, I thought this would make the perfect throw blanket for my couch. So again, I don't know what the technical term for it is, but it's like a gradient kind of yarn where it goes from this turquoise color into black, and the turquoise almost exactly matches my couch. It's like a little bit off, but it's super similar, and then the black obviously ties in my black bookshelves and all of the other black decor that I have in my living room, so I thought this would make the perfect throw blanket. Again, I don't know exactly what about the yarn I'm supposed to mention, but this is in the color teal, so teal, turquoise, tomato, but it is like super bulky yarn, so this is going to make a super soft blanket. And this does include a pattern, so it recommended 5 balls for that pattern. I probably won't use the pattern that it includes, but I'm sure 5 of these will be enough to make any kind of blanket that I do. And so this was, I don't know how much it was originally, but I got it on clearance for $5 each. So I bought 5 of these for $25, and this is also machine wash cold and tumble dry low, which is great because obviously having a blanket on the couch, accidents happen. If I'm like drinking my coffee in the morning and something goes wrong, it's nice that I can just throw it into the wash and the dryer. I also have cats, which again, it's just like accidents happen, so it's nice to be able to wash it super easy. Some more yarn that I bought super discounted is this Baby Delight yarn in the color yellow. This also includes a pattern, but as soon as I saw this, I thought this would make the perfect baby blanket for one of my coworkers to give to her new granddaughter, who's actually her first granddaughter, and she's very excited about it. And the baby's like bedroom theme and like the baby shower theme and all of that was Winnie the Pooh. So this reminded me a lot of that. I know Winnie the Pooh is kind of like a darker yellow, but I still thought that this would go nicely. And these I bought 3 of because that is also what this patterns suggested, but again, I think whatever pattern I use, I'm sure 3 will be more than enough. So I only have 2 here because this is actually the project that I am currently working on, which I will show you at the end of this video. But these were originally $11.99 and I got these on clearance for $3 each. The only thing about these is that it is machine wash warm, but you can't put it in the dryer, but still I feel like it's better to be able to put it in the washer and not put it in the dryer than having to hand wash it. If it was hand washed, I probably wouldn't have bought these. Next up, I have 2 balls of just basic black yarn. I don't remember exactly how much these were on sale for, but I want to say they were no more than $3, but I could be mistaken. But my plan for these ones is to turn it into a scarf in time for the autumn. So I don't know why, but I have always wanted just an abnormally long scarf. So like I want to be able to wrap it around my neck once and have it hang to like my knees. That's how long I want to make this scarf. So I feel like this is going to be a good one for that. And like I said, it says it's originally $9.99, but I definitely bought these during one of their like yarn sales. And these are both machine wash and dryable, so that is really ideal as well. And then the last 2 balls of yarn I have to show you might be some of the prettiest yarn I have ever seen, and that is these ones here. So these are in the color Blue Lagoon, and that is like a perfect way to describe this. I would also describe it as like mermaid colors. It's again one of the sort of like gradient ones that goes from one color to the next, and it's a lot of like purples, blues, and greens, which I love the way all of these colors go together. Like I said, it just reminds me of like a mermaid or just like magical, mystical kind of colors. So my plan with these ones is once I do some of my other projects and I get a bit better at crocheting and a little bit more skilled at it, I really want to try and crochet myself like a mesh cardigan using this yarn. I think it would look super pretty just as like a little shrug to throw on over like a cami or something in the summertime, or like even in the fall as a little layering piece. I think it would be super pretty. Right now I think crocheting a cardigan is a little bit out of my skill set, but like I said, once I do it for a little bit, that is the plan that I have for these ones because I just think they are so pretty. I will say though, they are very like fuzzy and kind of like fraying is probably not the right word for them, but it's just very like frizzy is the best way that I can describe it. So I'm worried that it might be a little bit difficult to work with and might give like a very worn appearance to whatever it is that you're making, but nonetheless I think it's so pretty in color. And I actually don't know, this is machine wash gentle and then lay flat to dry, which is fine, like I said. So long as it doesn't say hand wash, I don't mind. So that is all the yarn that I've picked up over the last couple weeks, but every time I go to Michael's, I am on the lookout for more yarn that I could get like on clearance and stuff like that. So I already have like other projects planned in my head, but for now these are the ones that I have lined up with the actual material that I can work with. So now I thought I would talk to you about the current project that I am working on, and then at the end of this video we can talk a little bit about my crochet history and why I kind of got back into doing it. So the current project I'm working on, like I said, I bought this yarn to make a baby blanket for one of my coworkers, and so that is what I'm currently working with. I know that people do the thing where they like turn it into little cakes, but I don't have any of the things that people use to do that easily, so I'm just working with this. I also could not find the end of the yarn in the center of it. I could only find it on the end, so that is why it looks the way that it does. It's not like the most convenient thing, but it's also not like a problem. Like that's just how I'm working with it right now. And this is my current project and how it looks. So again, like I said, this is going to be a baby blanket. In hindsight, this is longer than a baby blanket needs to be, but that is something that I have discovered upon crocheting again, is that I am not good at following directions slash patterns, and I'm also not good with measurements or like eyeballing anything. So I don't follow measurements or patterns. I basically just find a stitch that I like and I go with it, and I know like the general shape that a blanket is supposed to be in at the end, so I know I'm going for that shape. But when it comes to like the measurements and stuff, I tried to just eyeball it and it just came out much longer than it ever needed to be, but you know, that's okay. Hopefully the 3 yarns that I have will be good, and then the blanket will kind of grow with the kid. Like, that's what I'm telling myself, at least. So yeah, this is how my project looks so far. Like I said, I don't know really much of what to talk about with it, but the hook that I'm using is a 5.5 millimeter. This yarn actually suggested that you use a 4 millimeter hook, but I used this one instead because this is the smallest one that I had. So yeah, that is my current project and the one that I am working on while I finish up the final season of Stranger Things. I have 3 episodes from the end. The project that I had just completed before starting on this one was a much bigger blanket that I crocheted for my mom, and I actually shared pictures of it on my Twitter and also on my Instagram story. If you want to see like crochet updates more often and like crochet projects as I'm doing them, I share a lot of this on my Instagram stories, so I would definitely follow me on Instagram, which is at tiny_book_dragon. It's always linked in the description box, and I have a whole crochet highlight on there where I'll be adding all of my pictures of the projects like as I do them. But I crocheted this big blanket for my mom, and that was my first project since finding the hobby again. So now I'm doing like the same thing but on a much smaller scale. Now I just remembered the other thing that I meant to talk to you about when I was talking about my current project, and that is that I can't say that I would super recommend this particular yarn. Like sometimes, again, I'm kind of new to yarn and I've only worked with one other yarn besides this one with the blanket that I just made my mom, but sometimes buying things on clearance, it's kind of like, oh, this was a total steal, getting something for $3, but at the same time, sometimes it's like, oh, maybe it was on sale for a reason, and that is because I find that this yarn is a little bit difficult to work with. One, because it's smaller than yarn that I'm used to working with, so that's obviously not the fault of the yarn or anything like that. It's just very tedious for me to work with. But I also feel like this yarn kind of like, again, I don't know the technical term for it, but it's kind of like it unravels itself, like the actual yarn piece will start to like unravel, so you have to be super careful when you're like pulling your yarn through that you're actually pulling the whole thing through and you haven't just caught half of the yarn and you're pulling only half of it through. That has happened to me a lot on here where I've had to go back, and then once you do that, it really like frays the yarn quite a bit, so that has just been kind of annoying. And again, I've only worked with one other kind of yarn that was very different than this, so maybe all yarn is like that and I just kind of have to get used to it because the yarn that I used for my mom's blanket was very different than this. But yeah, that's just one of the things that I noticed with doing this blanket, is that you have to be really careful that you're pulling all of the yarn through and you're not just catching part of the like frayed bits where it's like unraveled a little bit and then you end up only pulling half of it through. But besides that, I think this is going to make a lovely baby blanket. Now I thought we could talk a little bit about my like journey with crocheting and why I stopped doing it and why I picked it up again. So like I said, I used to crochet many years ago. In fact, the last time that I crocheted anything was 9 years ago to the month, like almost to the day, but to the month was the last time that I crocheted anything, and it was when I finished this huge pink blanket that I had crocheted. Before that, I think I had crocheted a couple of scarves and that was pretty much it, but this huge pink blanket, which it was genuinely huge. I wish I had like a picture of it to show you, but it took me, I want to say it took me almost like an entire year to finish this because I didn't crochet on like a regular basis. So if I had crocheted, it probably only would have taken me like a month maybe to do it, but I didn't do it on a regular basis, so it took me like a whole year, and I definitely like burned myself out doing that. Like as a preteen, that was just way too much for me at the time, so I don't remember exactly the reason why I stopped crocheting, but I think it probably has to also do with the fact that at the time I was like becoming a teenager and my interests sort of were changing. I think I thought of crocheting as kind of like an old lady hobby, which is hilarious because at this point I have evolved into an old lady and like all of my hobbies are old lady-ish, like, and I do them with my cats. Like, I don't know. We've come full circle is basically what I'm saying, but I don't know the exact reason as to why I stopped crocheting, but I can kind of guess at why I stopped doing it. And then back in the very, very end of May is when I kind of discovered that I wanted to do it again. And again, I kind of blocked May of this year out of my brain, so I don't super remember what brought crochet up specifically, but for some reason I was just in this really bad place in my life and I really wanted something to do while I watched like TV and stuff like that, because I found myself in this place where I could not focus on a movie or a TV show or anything. Like, I just couldn't get through it because my focus was so bad, so I would just like scroll on my phone endlessly, and that was really ruining my mental health. So I thought, what is something that I can like do with my hands? And like, even over the summer I've bought like those fidget pop things and stuff like that to try and help me, and like those things just don't do the same thing for me. But for some reason crocheting is like the perfect thing that I can like focus on, and it's enough to like really keep my hands busy while I'm watching a show and I don't find my mind like wandering off completely. I don't know if that really makes any sense or if I explained it well, but essentially that is why I started doing it again, because I just was feeling very anxious and I just wanted something to do while I watched TV that was really relaxing and I could just focus on the show but also focus on what I was doing at the same time, and it was just like the perfect mix to help with my anxiety. Another thing that isn't really a reason as to why I started doing it, but something that I have realized since starting it, is that it is really fulfilling to make something and be able to actually like hold it in your hands. Essentially, like, up until this point, the only things that I've ever like created is like YouTube videos, which obviously you can watch, but it's not like something tangible that you can really hold in your hand. Or any other creative things that I've done is like journaling, which I don't share with other people. So having something like crocheting, it's super nice and fulfilling to be able to create something and then actually be able to like hold it in your hand afterwards, and also be able to like share it with other people and like gift it to other people. Like, I've got so many plans for gifts that I want to give people, like outside of just this baby blanket. Like, there's so many other ideas that I have in my head, so that is just like a really nice feeling that comes along with this hobby. So I'm really enjoying it. I am the kind of person where I will discover like a new hobby and I will completely throw myself into it and then partially like burn myself out on it, partially I just kind of get caught up with the idea of a new hobby and then realize that it's not really for me. But I'm really hoping that that's not going to happen in either of those scenarios. I'm really hoping that this is like a hobby that I am going to continue doing for a really long time, because I am really enjoying it and it's really helping me in this time in my life right now. The only thing though is that, like I said, I am 3 episodes away from finishing season 4 of Stranger Things, so I don't know what show I'm gonna watch once I finish that, because I want to watch something while I'm doing my crochet. So if you have any suggestions of TV shows that you think that I should pick up after I finish Stranger Things, do let me know in the comments. But yeah, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!